Alright, class, big up yourself. Welcome to another lecture on Of Mice and Men. We are now on the last section of chapter 3, which is going to be the themes that we're going to focus on. As usual, I'll start with a quick summary, go into some quotes, have a video clip again today, and remember you have a test today, so please look in the assignment section, do the quiz. Alright, notes for section 3. And again, if you have this version of the book, the notes are in there. Slim realizes that Lenny has the mentality of a child. George tells Slim about the supposed rape in weed involving Lenny. Carlson bullies Candy into allowing him to shoot his aging, smelly, rheumatic dog. George, at Lenny's insistence, describes to him again their dream farm, and Candy, who is listening in, also becomes enchanted by the idea. Curly starts a fight with Lenny, and at George's command, Lenny eventually unleashes his strength and crushes Curly's hand with ease. Slim persuades Curly that to avoid further humiliation, it would be in his best interest to pretend that his hand got caught in a machine. Right? Now, moving on to themes, we're going to kind of jump into different themes. So each quote might have a different theme attached to it, and I think that works out well because it's good to see where this midpoint of the novel really starts turning in terms of the themes that it's looking on. Some of the stuff is foreshadowing because it's referring to something that's going to be referred to later on. So I don't really want to spoil the story for those who haven't read ahead, but I will mention that it is foreshadowing so you can keep that in mind and look out for it. Now, the first quote, when they're talking about the dog, and I'm not going to go too much in depth because I'm going to put in the video clip a little bit earlier. I'm going to put in the video clip here. Carson said, the way I'd shoot him, he wouldn't feel nothing. I'd put the gun right there. He pointed with his toe, right back of the head. He wouldn't even quiver. Candy looked for help from face to face. It was quite dark outside now. A young laboring man came in. His sloping shoulders were bent forward, and he walked heavily on his heels. Now, I don't want to even do any more of the quotation. I'm actually going to insert the clip right here.
God almighty, that dog here stinks, Candy. He's got no teeth. He's all stiff from rheumatism. He ain't no good to you. Hell, he ain't no good to himself. Why don't you just shoot him, Candy?
Well, I couldn't do that. I had him too long. I herded sheep with him.
That poor old dog just suffers herself all the time.
No.
Look. Take him out and shoot him right in the back of the head. Right there. Hell, he'd never even know what hit him.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I had him too long.
I'll tell you what, Candy, I'll shoot him for you. Then it won't be you that done it. No. Look, Slim's bitch has got a litter right now. I bet you Slim would give you one of her pups to raise.
Sure. You can have any one of them pups you want.
No.
Carlson's right, Candy. That dog ain't no good to itself.
Hey, Slim. Read this.
Dear editor, I read your magazine for 6 years and think it's the best in the market. I like stories by Peter Ann. What you want me to read that for?
Well, go on. Read the name at the bottom.
Yours for Success, William Tanner.
You remember Bill Tanner, right?
Yeah, bald-headed guy, drove a cultivator.
That's him.
Candy, if you want me to, I'll put that old dog out of his misery right now. Won't hurt him at all.
Let's wait till tomorrow.
I don't see no reason for it. Let's get it over with. We can't sleep with that stinking dog in here.
Well,
Now that you've seen the video clip, what I want to talk about is a foreshadowing. The killing of this dog is very symbolic because later on we're going to notice how much it ties into like the helplessness, and how it ties into hope and the death of a dream, right? Candy kind of relates to this dog because Candy feels as old and useless as this dog is. And the idea of killing this dog feels as if Candy is killing a part of himself because they're basically treating the dog how they would treat Candy if killing Candy wasn't a crime. I know we live in a time now where shooting a dog might be a crime, but back then it really wasn't a crime. Especially the fact that he's saying that he would do it a way that he wouldn't feel anything. So he isn't shooting to torture or put the dog through any pain. He's kind of putting him out of his misery, as he would say. And that kind of symbolizes the loss of hope. Candy sees it because dogs on ranches are very useful. They work hard. They're shepherds. They help to maybe run away other animals. And what Candy is doing is Candy is very sad because he sees that the death of this dog feels in a way like the death of his dreams and his hopes and everything that he represents. There's also something it foreshadows later down in the book, but we won't talk too much about that. But you can see even from the clip the type of emotions that it evokes getting rid of this dog or shooting this dog. All right. The next theme that we're going to look on is women in society. Well, ain't she a Lulu? I ain't seen that much of her, said George. Whit laid down his cards impressively. Well, stick around and keep your eyes open. You'll see plenty. She ain't concealing nothing. I never seen nobody like her. She got the eye going all the time on everybody. I bet she even gives a stable buck the eye. I don't know what the hell she wants. Now, this is a very important quote because before we start to really get into the crux of who Curly's wife is and the type of effect that Curly's wife has on the characters, we notice that her friendliness is met with a lot of disdain. They look down on how friendly she is. And there's many angles we can look at. We can look at the fact that maybe she is a little bit more friendly than she needs to be. But at the same time, they are judging her for something that is actually very simple. They're judging her for wanting company, for wanting to talk to people. And as a woman in that society, it can't be easy for her to be the only woman on this ranch. This ranch is filled with men that has nothing for her to do, and her husband doesn't really give her the attention that she wants. Even though he acts jealous and he acts aggressive when it comes to her, but he's not really giving her the attention that she wants. So she kind of looks for it in friendship with other people. And later down in other chapters, we're going to notice that she finds the most simple-minded person to get that attention from, and that is Lenny. And how that works out, we will look on in more in depth in other chapter conversation or lectures. But right now, we're seeing that she's fully being judged, even being the only woman in this society, in this situation, in this ranch. She's definitely looked down upon for her actions. And it's one of those turning points in the book where we wonder how big of an effect can this woman have on the rest of the novel. The next quotation ties into dreams again. And this kind of happens with a quote that we mentioned a little bit before where George is speaking to Lenny about the dreams. It happened many times previously, but I want you to notice a certain line after he's doing the usual, story about the having the hutch and the rabbits and the gardens and having his own place. There's a moment where it says George sat entranced with his own picture. So far in the book, Lenny seems to be the one that's very excited. Lenny seems to be the one that's really into this whole story. George kind of gets annoyed when Lenny wants him to tell him about it. He gets a little bit, like, oh, I can't bother with this. All right, fine. But for this brief moment, George is entranced by his own picture. This picture that he puts out there, it almost hypnotizes him. And this shows that even though he acts annoyed, this is a real dream of his. This is something that he wants to aspire to. And then Candy comes in and helps to propel that dream even more with his money that he wants to put in. So it's something that we have to look on, and that is a very important word, entranced, where this dream becomes reachable. He's lost in what seems like a dream world, and then for a split second, the dream becomes reachable. And what does that then mean? for George? What decisions does George have to make? So there's a little foreshadowing there as well. And the last quote that we're going to do, Curly sat on the floor, looking in wonder at his crushed hand. Slim and Carson bent over him. Then Slim straightened up and regarded Lenny with horror. "We got to get him to a doctor," he said. "Looks to me like every bone in his hand is bust." Now, we've spoken about, the strength that Lenny has. We've spoken about the power that Curly tries to use, his authority that he tries to use. And what I want us to look at is this is the distinct moment of loss of power, and even a power that Lenny doesn't want, because as it says here, Slim looks up at Lenny with horror. This is one of the moments where we see real fear. And then in his description, we see just how strong Lenny is, where he says every bone in his hand might be crushed. So the type of image that is built there, the writer is really drilling it in our head, the type of power that Lenny possesses physically and the loss of power that Curly has, where basically they're telling him, yo, you better tell a lie, because if you try to do anything with Lenny, if you try to get him in any trouble, we're going to tell people what happened here. We're going to make people know that you did get mashed up. And this is where the power really comes in, where the real power that we see here isn't even the strength, it isn't even Curly being the boss's son. It is the image that would be put out there to society, where Curly would rather people not know that him get mashed up than have the word go around that he would rather basically to tell people it was a machine than for people to know that Lenny dominated him. And that is where the power really comes in. So we looked on a few of the themes. These are some things that we'll have to keep in mind looking forward. The chapters coming up are going to be very crucial to the movement of the plot. So I'm looking forward to that. But just keep that in mind. Please read ahead. A test will be set for you. Please get it done. Big up yourself. Stay safe.